slavery was always part of America, that it arrived fully formed, that it was inevitable, that it was natural, that Africans were enslaved the moment they stepped onto this land, that there was never another path. But slavery in America did not begin as law. It became law, and that difference changes everything. Because laws are choices, and choices reveal intention. In the earliest years of the American colonies, the future was not yet decided. The world was still fluid. Africans worked the land. Europeans worked beside them. Some Africans were enslaved temporarily. Some were indentured. Some earned freedom. Some owned land. Some went to court. Some married. Some baptized their children. Some negotiated their labor. Some even held servants of their own. The system was brutal, violent, unjust, but it was not yet permanent. It was not yet fixed. It was not yet racialized. That permanence had to be constructed, and construction requires planning. The colonies were expanding. Plantations were spreading. Forests were cleared. Swamps were drained. Fields were carved into the land. Tobacco became gold. Sugar became empire. Rice became fortune. Later, cotton would become king. And profit demanded labor, relentless labor, cheap labor, disposable labor. At first, the colonies relied on indentured servants from Europe, poor Englishmen, Irish laborers, desperate migrants. They signed contracts. They worked for years. They endured beatings, disease, starvation. But their bondage had an end date. And when it ended, they demanded land. They demanded rights. They demanded equality. They demanded a future. They rebelled, together, black and white, side by side. The ruling class watched carefully. They saw the danger, not in Africans alone, not in Europeans alone, but in unity. Because united labor threatens concentrated wealth. So the elites searched for control, control that would last, control that would divide, control that would reproduce itself. And control requires law. In 1641, Massachusetts passed a statute. It was brief, quiet, almost unremarkable, but it legalized slavery, officially, not loudly, not with spectacle, but with ink. Other colonies took notice. Virginia followed. At first, the rules were uneven. Some Africans sued for freedom. Some won. Some lost. Some were punished brutally. Some were released. Some converted to Christianity and believed it might save them. But inconsistency is dangerous to power. So lawmakers refined the system. In 1662, Virginia made a decision that reshaped history forever. A child's status would follow the mother, not the father. This was unprecedented in English law. In England, lineage followed the father, inheritance followed the father, freedom followed the father. But not here, not in the colonies. If the mother was enslaved, the child would be enslaved for life, no matter who the father was, no matter if he was white, no matter if he was the owner himself. This law transformed black women's bodies into engines of bondage. Reproduction became profit. Birth became ownership. Motherhood became weaponized. This was not an accident. It was design. It protected slave owners from responsibility. It guaranteed a growing labor force. It made rape profitable. And it made slavery self-sustaining. In 1667, Virginia ruled that baptism did not grant freedom. Faith could not save you. God could not save you. Christianity became irrelevant when profit was at stake. By the late 1600s, laws multiplied. Slave codes spread across colonies. Africans could not testify against white people. Africans could not own weapons. Africans could not gather freely. Africans could be beaten, maimed, killed, with little or no consequence. Punishment was public. Violence was ritual. Fear was policy. By 1705, Virginia formalized slavery completely. Blackness became synonymous with bondage. whiteness became synonymous with freedom. This is when race became law, not because race was biological, not because it was scientific, but because slavery required protection. Poor white laborers were given status instead of justice. They were given identity instead of equality. They were told they were superior, not because they were wealthy, not because they held power, but because they were white. This prevented rebellion. This divided labor. This protected wealth. Slavery did not survive despite the law. It survived because of it. Maryland followed. South Carolina followed. New York followed. Each colony refined the system. Each removed protections. Each hardened cruelty into statute. Families were separated legally. Children were sold legally. Human beings became property legally. Property could be inherited, insured, mortgaged, traded. Slavery became an institution. The law no longer restrained violence, it sanctified it. Courts defended slave owners, militias hunted escapees, patrols roamed the night. This is where policing began, not to protect communities, but to protect property. And yet, resistance never stopped. Enslaved people slowed work, they broke tools, they poisoned crops, they ran, they revolted, they remembered who they were. Resistance did not wait for freedom, it lived inside bondage. Every act of survival was rebellion. The system responded with harsher laws, more patrols, more chains, more terror. Once slavery became law, it could not be easily undone, because laws outlive generations. The chains were not only iron, they were written, signed, stamped. Slavery did not fail America. America chose it. And once chosen, it demanded defense. That defense would come through race, through violence, through silence. In the next episode, we expose how race itself was invented, how black and white became tools of control, and how those inventions still shape power today. If you want to understand Black America beyond myths and lies, subscribe now. Because once slavery became law, justice was never neutral again, and America was never innocent.